All right, welcome to the Love and Truth Podcast. I am your co-host, James Nelson, along with my beautiful wife.
Lene.
And again, this is the Love and Truth Podcast. We're so excited about this episode. We're going to be talking about from the root to the fruit, a mother's love, a son, and a son's journey with our own special guest, Miss Katina Kanzler.
Yes.
We're going to get into the bio in just a little bit, but we're excited to have her on the show. She is currently being featured on OWN's special, Somebody's Son, and we're going to get into all of that. But babe, why don't you go and do the intro? Did you want to share something before we get started?
Yeah, before I get started, I want to say that I am so proud of you.
Thank
I am proud of you because we met back about 10 years ago at it was a recruiting event
for a flight attendant.
yes, for a flight attendant. And that's where we met. And we stayed in contact, lost contact, back in contact.
Yes.
So I just want to tell you that you've been the same person from the first time I met you up until now, and you are a Virgo, so I see
Thank
why.
you.
Yeah.
But
Right.
yeah, so I want to say that before I get into this. But the next thing that I want to do, I would like to read your bio, and it's an extensive bio, and I love it. Katina D. Kanzler is a creative visionary, minister, and life organizer with 30 years. Let's put this on bright. Okay. With over 30 years of experience helping people transform from the inside out. From her roots as a professional hairstylist to launching a bold denim fashion line,
Nice.
Katina's passion for beauty and self expression shines through every endeavor. She is also a trusted home organizer, helping others create peace and order in their spaces. A woman, oh my God, a woman of deep faith, Katina ministers through prayer, encouragement, and the word of God. I know all about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
As a mother of 6 and grandmother of 5, her life experience shapes how she connects with others. She recently appeared on Somebody's Son, helping her son look for love, where her authenticity and love for family took center stage. And currently, she's pursuing a degree in psychology, and Katina continues to empower others through design, ministry, and meaningful conversation.
Yes.
All
So
right.
welcome,
Welcome.
to the
Welcome.
Love
Come on,
and
come on,
Truth
come on, come on.
podcast.
Oh, okay. Is that the thing? I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
you don't
I'm
have-
not
you
gonna
don't have to do that.
I'm
It's
not
for
gonna do that.
women. I
That's
mean,
that's woman thing.
or whoever wants to do
I'm
it,
not
but I know
doing
you
that. I
don't.
can do finger snaps, but
Well,
I'm not doing.
do that.
Well, I
Do
can't
that.
snap no
I'm not
fingers
gonna- I'm not
over
gonna do
here,
that.
so this works for
Okay,
me.
that works
Yeah.
for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Yay.
absolutely,
Thank
absolutely. It's been a
you.
long time coming.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So,
So we're gonna jump
James.
into this because I'm excited about this conversation.
Yep.
We've been talking about it for the past week or so, and I love seeing how genuine and authentic women of God connect and really just being honest and true with each other. So um, I'm glad that my wife reconnected with you,
Yes.
and because I think the first time I met was when we went and picked up the this incredible piece here, which
Absolutely.
is, and my wife, she's always a one of one. She don't
Yeah.
want anything that anybody else has. So
I don't.
definitely some creative work. But here's a question, and we're going to get into who Katina is. But give us a little bit about who Katina is, where you're from, and then how did you end up in Houston?
Wow.
That's a lot. That's three questions in one. So
That
just
is
give
a
us
lot. Well,
everything.
let me tackle the first question. I mean, well, maybe somewhere in the middle, right? So, I'm originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana,
Okay.
born and raised, and I moved from Indiana to Arizona in 2003,
Okay.
and I lived there until 2016.
Okay.
And then my oldest daughter, she went to back to Indiana to finish her degree, and then she wanted to move to Houston. Well, let me tell you just how, like, I was surprised that she said she wanted to come to Houston because when I was 13, my dad lived here in Houston.
Oh wow.
And my dad had a business. He had a cleaning business here in Houston. And so I thought, well, how ironic. God just has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I was 13, said, Dad, take me back home to my mama because I don't like Houston,
Yeah.
right? And then for my oldest daughter to want to come to Houston And so that's
Right.
what led me here
Okay.
to
Okay.
Houston. And so, but as you read in my bio, I'm a mom of six. I have five grandchildren,
Yes.
and I'm very creative.
Very.
I like to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I was a licensed cosmetologist, a hairstylist for about 30 something years. I've always would go when I was younger, would go to my friend's house. And their house stayed a little messy because my mom was an orderly person. Like, she kept her house clean. No matter
Gotcha.
what she was doing, she kept a clean house. And so I adapted that from her. So then when I would go to my friend's house, I would always clean up for them and help them get their house in order. And then when my daughter, like I said, when she moved here, she needed me help. She needed some help with her closet. She was like, "Mom, I think this needs Casey's touch."
Gotcha.
And so that's how that kind of everything just kind of
Wow.
evolved into me, instead of just going in and cleaning for people
Right.
Right.
for free, for
Right.
fun,
Right.
Right.
then I end up turning it into a business.
Yes, ma'am.
And now I just want to incorporate organizing and doing things decently and in order,
Gotcha.
along with ministry, and just kind of compile it all together, if that makes sense.
So interesting. Though, did I hear you say that your dad had a cleaning business here,
Yes.
and then that's just a passion of yours just to clean? I mean,
Just
obviously
to,
your mom kept a clean
yes.
house.
Sounds
Your
like
dad
DNA.
had a.
Sounds like
It sounds like DNA
DNA
is
to
what we
me.
get. Like
Right.
it's just
Yeah, that's what that
and
sounds
and, and
like.
and
Right.
then for your oldest daughter to want to come here. So obviously there was some energy here in
That new,
Houston that
yes,
attracted her and needed you
to be
to be
here.
here
Yeah,
as well. So
absolutely.
okay, so we'll get into more of the journey, but I did want to just start with that. But we're so excited to have you here, and I'm just big on things don't just happen by happenstance. You meet people, for times and seasons,
Yes.
and there's always a reason. If those things don't happen, then you don't come across each other, and we're not even sitting here today, right?
Right.
Right.
All of those things
Right.
that predated what's
Right.
happening today
Correct.
had to happen for a reason. So we're glad to
Absolutely.
have you. So
We are.
Absolutely.
go.
I'm excited about being here.
Yeah, yeah.
I think me and Lene, we kind of connected when I first met her the recruiting
Interview.
interview,
Yes, we did.
because it was an open interview. It was in San Antonio, Texas, so we
Yep.
had to drive there. So I didn't meet her in Houston.
Oh,
I met her in San Antonio.
Correct.
which airline was this? What was this for?
Was
It
it
was
for?
SkyWest.
It was SkyWest. Okay, because
SkyWest.
listen, I couldn't even.
It's okay. I
Yeah, I
got
couldn't
you.
even think
It
of
was
which one. Yeah.
SkyWest.
Yeah.
She got the job. I didn't.
It's okay. I
But
didn't take it.
she
I
was
went
so
somewhere
good.
else.
But she was so sweet though. She's been sweet, but you've been the same too. From all the way from then up until now.
Yeah, that's
See, I
a
just
good
told you this morning
testimony.
you were sweet.
Yeah,
A
she.
sweet little thing
She
you are.
is.
I try. I try. It
She's
costs
so sweet.
nothing. It costs nothing. So let's go a little deeper.
Okay.
And my question for you is, what was the most defining blah, 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 part of your childhood that shaped you to cause you to be the woman and mother that you are today? Give me two things.
Oh. Well, I feel like I always had a calling on my life
Mm.
Okay.
from birth.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand it,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew it was like certain little things that was happening to me
Yes.
when I was a child, that I was very sickly.
Mm.
Lived in a hospital. They didn't think I was gonna make it.
Oh.
I lived under oxygen tents. Um, I was very anorexic, very very skinny. They literally didn't think I was gonna make it. And so I just believe that from a very young age, God has had His hands up on my life. There was one particular situation. I was lying in bed, and I don't know if you guys remember those speakers that had all the different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom had was playing her record player, and she had the speakers go. The speaker had the lights, and it was like red, green,
Mm-hmm.
yellow,
Mm-hmm.
blue, and it was the reflection that made a shadow on the wall from us laying in the bed, right?
Okay.
And I was sick at the time, and at the foot of the bed, it was like I saw an image of God,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I didn't understand it because I was very young at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And then at the head of the bed, it was like the enemy, what I would say now,
Mm-hmm.
as I
Yeah.
this
Right. Right.
this
Right.
vision is in my mind, and so I when I looked down, I was like afraid because I could see what was at the head of the bed, but down at the foot of the bed, I could hear him saying, "I got you," like he was protecting me,
Right.
and so I just kept that with me all my life,
Okay.
Wow.
throughout my life.
Hmm. That's very interesting, because a lot of people have that story, but we just don't hear it from a lot of people. So I'm hoping that what you just said resonates with somebody, because oftentimes we think we're crazy,
Right,
and we're not.
right.
God is just training and refining us for those visions that He's going to give us as we go through our process of walking with Him. And so
Right.
that's what I believe.
Can I ask a
Uh,
question
Yeah,
about, because
yeah,
you never know how these conversations are going to
yeah.
go,
We
and
might
so
shift.
I know.
so
I'm
so
sorry.
It's
so if I
okay.
if I heard you, you said, the image of God was at the foot, right? Did you say at the head was like the enemy?
Yes.
And so just as you were saying that, I was just thinking that God is saying, "Hey, I'm going to order your steps," right?
Right.
The enemy is going to try to mess with your mind,
That part.
right? And so you recognizing that in hindsight, obviously as a kid, we don't always know
That's
what
good,
that
baby.
means, but that's just what I heard. I mean, God has ordered your steps every part or at every stage in
Right.
your life. And anyway, it was just an observation. I just want to give God um, his
Yeah.
props.
Yeah, because he knows how to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Did I answer your question though? Because I
No,
want to
no,
make
no,
sure I
you
want
did.
to.
You
Okay.
did. But here's another question. Were there any wounds or struggles from your past that you found yourself parenting through?
Yes, it was a lot of wounds because I grew up and I didn't feel like I was being protected.
Mm,
Mm,
So then I didn't feel like I was being protected from men,
okay.
right? And not that I wasn't molested, but I was touched inappropriately. And I think from that touch,
Mm-hmm.
when I became a mother, even as a young girl, I had in my mind like, well, when I have kids, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm not gonna have nobody around my kids. I want to make sure that they're protected. And I think with me being so protective, I mean, it was good, but then it was also bad because it's like, you kind of hold on
Correct.
to, and it's like, oh, you know how when your
yeah.
child is getting ready to walk, and you're like, oh, I don't want them to fall.
Yeah.
And so almost just to a default, that protection just, I mean, maybe
Mm-hmm.
went a little too far,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the trauma of what I went through as a younger little girl,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make sure that I always showed up for my kids.
Mm.
I wanted to make sure that I always was present and that no one was going to touch them or
Inappropriate.
inappropriately.
Yeah. So before, I know that you probably have a question
I
about
do,
this,
because
but
I'm loving this conversation.
I'm
Because
Okay.
I'm
this is
I'm
not
loving
even
it too.
planned, but
It, it's
I'm
right.
hearing. I'm in the
It's not.
moment.
But this was the one thing that we did. We prayed as we always do, but we asked the Holy Spirit to take over. So whatever He wants to do, He has freedom to do it.
Absolutely.
So you said about the molestation. So what I had to learn, because that's something that happened to me, and I'm only saying that to so that our viewers will understand. There's a difference in child molestation and then rape, right?
Correct.
When you are touched inappropriately, it's child molestation. Um, and when you're raped, that means you are fighting somebody off and they're still pressing you to harm you. Child
Right.
molestation, it freezes you, you're quiet, you think it's normal, you don't know what to say, what to do, and you're just in this frozen state.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
So that would so it actually is child molestation. Now, what question were you going to
No,
ask?
I was going to go because this is the Love and Truth podcast, and so
Yeah.
we deal with truth, right? And we focus on relationships, and so you touched on something about how what happened as a child, and in our journal we deal with childhood traumas
Right.
and family dynamics. That's the first section in our Love and Truth journal,
Yeah.
um, that we encourage people to kind of go through, because one of the questions it deals with, what happened, is there anything that happened to you as a child that still impacts you today?
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
kind of rewinding a little bit, so before you became a mother, something happened. And so that really drove how much you protected And to your point, maybe overprotected your kids, it does have an effect on how you raise your kids. It does your parenting. It does have an effect on your relationships, which we'll touch on as well in terms of with romantic relationships,
Hmm.
because of your lens and how you see things. And until you really kind of process through that and go deep and ask the questions, you don't really know how to handle it. So,
Hmm.
it was a good segue into the journal. Um,
It is.
that
It
that
is.
comment.
And I just want to park right here. Our Love and Truth Journal was birthed out of me going through the trauma of child molestation. And one of the questions here is, what does a safe space in our relationship mean to you? And how can you create it together? Oftentimes when you have been violated, you don't even know anything about a safe space. You just know that you're not. But we encourage you guys to go online. It should be coming across the screen, and these are available. It is a digital copy, which means you can just go and purchase it. And once you purchase it, you can print it out and start your healing process like right then.
Because the
So
other things you said was not being protected
yes.
as a child, and I wanted to protect my kids because I didn't feel protected,
Mm-hmm.
and so the journal helps kind of because some people don't know where to start,
Right.
and so how did you? I mean, how did you go through that process? And try to bring balance to it.
W- with the love of God,
Mm,
my aunt, she instilled that in me when I was a little girl.
okay.
I'm not saying that I did it right, but she instilled, like she planted that
Mm-hmm.
seed in me. So I believe, I go back to the scripture where he says, I knew you before you entered into your mother's womb,
Right.
right? So I really, I take that scripture, and it really means a lot to me, because I know you and I had this conversation, right?
Yes.
So you it's like, wait a minute.
It's
Okay,
okay.
so let me,
Just go with
not
it.
to say, okay. So from the womb, right? I feel like there were some things that happened when my mother was carrying me in
Hmm.
the womb,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And from that, God protected me in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
So I know God had a purpose and destiny for my life from the womb.
Right.
And I'll share this because, and I'm gonna share this because I want somebody else to be free, right? And my mom, I already discussed things with my mother for things like this. So when my mom carried me in the womb, she was a heroin addict.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so she shot up every day from the time she woke up to the time she went to bed. She did heroin with me in her womb. And from that, you can't explain to me that I never was addicted to drugs. I was never, from a baby,
Mm-hmm.
no drugs in my system. That you can't explain it,
Yeah.
because it was
Correct.
always a worry and a concern of hers. So she used to say, I wonder if that's the reason you have scoliosis. And I'm like, Mom, that's because I have bad posture. That has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with
Yeah.
what was in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
So when people ask me, why do I, in spite of my mistakes, in spite of my hiccups, why do I trust God, or why do I rely back on God? It's because He protected me and
Right.
kept me in the womb.
Right.
It's a lot of times, even when I was a child, just roaming the streets at a very young age, and I didn't feel protected. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, but God has had His hands on me.
Right.
God has truly has His hands on my life.
Well, we
Yes.
we believe you just from you
Yeah.
saying
I
Yeah.
that.
No.
just
No.
believe it.
Listen. We see.
He's
We
kept
see.
me. Yeah.
We see.
But watch
Yes.
this though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So knowing that you were protected in the womb, but then we started the conversation off by saying, "Hey, I didn't feel protected,"
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
right? In the natural
In the
Right.
natural.
with men.
Right.
But see, that's where the enemy comes and tries to distort
Exactly.
God's love, God's grace, God's protection. And if we don't have a knowing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I got to go back to the womb and
Right.
say, well, wait a minute. It doesn't matter what's going on right now. I know God has protected me and carried me
Yes.
through all of
All
this.
of it.
And so I listen, give all glory because that is a
All,
testimony
It
yes.
is.
in itself. So
Because out of all
we
those
about to
eggs,
all of them.
look who showed up.
Yes. Thank God.
Yes. What does spiritual discernment look like in parenting an adult child in the public eye? In the public eye.
It can look very controlling. It can be um, could be overbearing. It could look to the public. Um, Mom doesn't have boundaries. She oversteps her boundaries.
Mm,
But when it comes to my children, I'm willing to take those risks. I'm
correct.
willing to step over those boundaries when the Lord is giving me discernment
Mm-hmm.
and when my spirit is not in agreement with certain things,
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to overstep those boundaries.
Yeah. So not compromising with what the world would say, but trusting your God and walking in
Absolutely.
obedience to what He
Absolutely.
says. So I want to talk about this, your experience on the show.
Yes.
What made you decide to go on this journey with your son? And then the second question is, how did you feel about going on the show?
So the show, they reached out to my son.
Okay.
And again, I'm going to always glorify God in everything that I do and say
Mm-hmm.
because my son Chad, Chad is a very strong individual, right? He's
Hmm.
very strong willed. He's always been that way. And so sometimes I feel as a mom, men are gonna be men, and so they don't particularly want their mom in their business like that. So I'll be like, maybe he just don't want me around and
Right.
like boy, you know what I mean?
Correct.
So so what happened? They contacted him and he reached out and said, "Well, mom, they, in our family chat, he was like, well, these people they reached out to me and said, about doing this reality show. What y'all think?" And so my oldest daughter said, "Well, yeah, you should do it.
Mm-hmm.
The trick is he gotta have me." So here it is, the one son that I be like, "Ugh, I'm gonna choke you," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's very loving. If
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he'll take care of me. He got his name, he got my name tatted on his rib.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like kind of like a love hate kind of relationship.
Got it.
But he loves. I know he loves me,
Mm-hmm.
and so he decided to go on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But he's private. That's the thing, and
Got it.
so
Yeah, so that's a
so that's the thing. It's like he's private. We're going on this
Is that
reality
kind of like an
show.
yeah,
oxymoron?
that's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Right. And so, but we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, God, you just have a sense of humor because I have to be with him. We got to be with each other in each other's space for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, no cell phone, no TV, no outside
Oh
interaction. Yes.
wow.
Like
So,
sequestered, like you couldn't
yes,
be any outside influence. So let me ask you this.
none.
'Kay, I want to go back for a second.
Okay.
So you have 6 kids. What's the boy,
Chad.
girl?
Okay, so it's my oldest daughter, and then it's my my second son, then Chad.
Okay,
Well, Chad is my second son, right? So
okay,
it's Bree, Reggie, Chad,
Okay.
Nehemiah, then Tamara, then Mackenzie.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So it's three and three.
3 and 3.
Three and
Okay, a
Three
three.
and
little
three.
Brady bunch over here.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Okay, I
Yeah. I
just want to
love
get the
it.
dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
3 boys,
he
3
and
girls.
so he's the middle son.
Yes, he
He is
is.
the
He's the
middle
middle
son.
He is
son.
the middle
He's the
son,
middle
which
son.
explains
Well,
things.
that's where I was
Right.
going with that. He's the
Yeah.
middle
He's a
son.
Leo. He's a
Okay.
Okay.
Leo.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you gonna say?
No, no,
Because I know you have a question.
no, no. I was asking. So you're a minister.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that play a role in raising your son? And what's the difference between your oldest and your middle son in terms of how you raise them? And what's the age difference between those?
So let's see. Bree is what 35. Yeah. Right. And what about no 2 3 like 3 years apart.
3 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what'd you do with the oldest is what's his name again?
Chad, no, Reggie.
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 So how did you raise them the same? What were the difference between those
I
two?
did because I didn't know no better.
Okay.
So it's like, well,
Right.
one get in trouble, everybody get in trouble.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? So I didn't. It wasn't until I moved to Arizona that I understood that I had to treat each child differently because everybody was had their own personalities. You got to
Right.
think I was a mom from 16 on up,
Yeah.
right? So at 16 you don't know how to parent.
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't know really how to be a mama.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't and then you keep having them, you don't have the patience.
Right.
It's just like
Plus,
everybody
it's
sit
real.
down, everybody go to bed. No,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So I didn't know how to really navigate to be a mom because I didn't have a real role model or real example of what a mama was.
Right.
You
What
understand what I'm saying? If
what
that
Yeah.
did
makes
Arizona?
sense.
Yes. Yeah. No.
Yes,
100%.
and you said Arizona. Until I got to Arizona, what was that? What was the pivot in Arizona that causes you to be able to see something different?
Arizona was that desert experience because I didn't have family in Arizona. I packed up 5 kids and moved and left from my hometown and moved to Arizona with
Gotcha.
nothing, just me and 5 kids with no family. So, I mean, I cried a lot of days and a lot of nights and days and nights. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I was so used to like being around my mom and my sister, and I depended on my sister for every answer. But when I moved to Arizona, I had to depend on for real, depend on God.
Okay.
So and then that's when God began to really, really, my discernment grew even more because I was like, okay, what is this and why? You know what I mean? So then I had a better understanding to it.
What made you pick? And I'm asking you this question because all I thought about when you said you picked up, you by yourself, you moved to a state. There was nobody there. I'm asking you this question why you did that because all I remember is God telling Abraham, leave your family
Yes,
and go by yourself. And one would be like, Lord, why? I mean, what
Arizona.
of
Arizona
all place? So you want me to have a whole desert experience for real, for
for
real?
real, for
So
real.
what spoke to you to pick up to go there? I know it was God, but what were the chain of events that pushed you there?
I had a dream.
Hmm.
Okay.
Well, look,
You had a dream.
my
Take a
card done
sip.
fell and everything.
Is MLK a holiday yet in Arizona?
No,
Oh,
Well,
at that time they hadn't, and then a few years into me living there,
they
they
finally
they
made it a
finally
holiday.
yeah they finally made it a
okay,
holiday.
Okay.
okay.
So yeah, Arizona was my real desert
Real, you had a
experience.
real wilderness experience, and
I
I
really
Wilderness where you
did.
had to trust
God
God
You
completely.
yes,
completely.
yeah, cause I like my mom, my sister.
See, that's the training right there that we
Yeah,
don't want to go through,
whew,
but it's
it
necessary
was necessary.
because there's one that plants, one that waters, and
Waters,
who brings the increase.
God gonna
And so
bring
we see the
yes,
increase right now.
yes,
That's what we're looking at.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
I mean, that's all I'm
All
saying.
yeah.
right, then. Praise break.
Woo!
Okay,
No, for
okay.
real, right?
And okay, so let me ask this, and I'm gonna give the baton to you. How did it feel being in the home with your son, and three other ladies on this show?
It was good. It was I was really excited about doing the show with Chad, being in his space, being able to kind of dig and pry because he don't bring women around me. So it's because he knows how I am. So he knows I'm going to be like, okay, is she saved? What she do? I just need to know because I still believe I believe in young women being modest.
Okay.
I
Right.
believe that you don't have to, so certain things I'm just gun hold on, right? And so having to share, being able to share that moment with him, I was excited about that.
Okay.
So give
Waking
us a
up and
premise of the show, though. Can back us up for a
Yeah.
second? Like, what's the
okay.
premise of the Somebody's Son? So, kind of, what's the whole premise?
So somebody's son is a show, a reality show where they pick the man, they pick the bachelor, and he has to bring his mom. The catch to the show is the women did not know that the mother was going to be present,
Yeah, we saw that.
right? Right.
We did.
so, so, but the mom gets to choose who stays and who goes.
Uh.
So it's the mom's decision. Period.
So this so this is why you got to go check it out. You got to go look at it. It's on now. Is it
Yes.
has the
Yes.
final episode?
No. I this today. Today is we're gonna air episode 9 and 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
we get back to back.
Okay.
Right.
And then next week is episode 11, and then we have 12. So we had 12 episodes
So y'all need to go own network,
on
Uh-huh.
right?
network.
Somebody's son.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all go check it out. It is that we've been watching
We've
it,
been watching it.
and it's really interesting. And so being a son, and I kind of like your son, I didn't bring anybody around my mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And quite honestly, I think the couple that I did bring around, my wife is the only one that she actually talks to or likes, right? To be honest with you,
Wow.
so
See, what's there not to like? She's so
she's
gorgeous.
so sweet.
Ain't
She's so
she?
And you
sweet.
know,
Is she?
I
She's
purpose to
sweet.
be
She's
though,
so sweet.
y'all. That's why I say when people mistreat me, I'm like, but I understand now. I ain't gonna go into it. I ain't gonna go into it. But
I gotta go ahead.
yes,
Go ahead. No, I want to get this question because we
yeah,
didn't
go
go
no
here.
no go for the question because I was gonna say something to her too.
Okay.
Well,
So
wait a minute before
okay,
I'll
okay,
forget real quick,
okay. Go ahead. Go
real
ahead. Go
quick.
ahead. Go ahead.
We went and my husband went and purchased that particular package with OWN just so we could watch your show.
Oh, well,
Because
thank
we
We did.
didn't
We
you.
no
did.
no
Thank
like
you.
real
Yeah.
talk because we didn't have it anymore because we have other streaming things, but it was when you put it online. I was like, and we didn't even know that we were going to do this
Right.
wasn't in the plan. You just said that, hey, it's on. I said, well, I want to see my friend and support her, and so that's how we end
Yeah.
up,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
thank you. I appreciate
absolutely.
both
And
of y'all
then
for
look,
watching.
so God
Right.
was like, for purpose, you need to go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
So here's my question.
Okay.
So you're in here, and we saw the episode when the three young ladies didn't know, because I think they said, "Oh, there's going to be another person,"
Yeah.
Right.
and then just to see the reaction, it was like, who's
Who is
she's a
she?
little bit older. I mean,
Yeah, and who is she? And why is she here?
but you handle yourself with grace.
You
Okay, so
did.
here's the
Thank
question:
you.
what were some of the red flags? And you don't have to go into detail. They need to go
Okay.
watch. Like
Right.
generally,
Right.
make this a
Right. You have to
general
watch.
thing. Like some of the red flags that you pick up. The one thing I heard you just say was being traditional and young ladies being modest, respectful. So what were some of the red flags?
Well, if well for some of the viewers, I guess, because I was in the back, so I was in the room, and I was able to kind of watch the ladies interact, and so I just was kind of discerning like
Hmm.
who is what, who, and it was certain things like one of the ladies said, make sure you pour me some more, alcohol because they were doing like champagne. And so that was for me, I was like, not that it was a bad thing, but it made me question like,
Mm-hmm.
is she a real drinker or is she a social drinker?
Right.
Or is she a casual drinker? Because if you have someone that you're thinking about dating, you need to know, is this something you do like every day?
Right.
Is this something you do on occasion? Or you know what I mean? You
Mm-hmm.
you need to know. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one. But other than that, honestly, I felt like we had a great group of young ladies.
Okay.
So I didn't have a lot of red flags with them.
Okay. Okay.
Um, one, Lauren, she just was a little bit older, so I felt like she was a little more mature,
Mm-hmm.
and she's ready for marriage. She was ready for, I'm ready
Family.
family, and
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
those were some things that I kind of looked at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what I really enjoyed, and then you can jump
Okay.
because we're gonna jump over here, is that the scene where I think you were making breakfast and y'all were just talking. I just loved how you were interacting with interacting with the young ladies
Yeah.
and just meeting them where they were, right? No pretense,
Right.
no judgment, just conversation, just talking. And I think that is somewhat missing in today's society. I think you have a lot of women that have kids that may have missed out on a part of their lives and they get into their late 40s and early 50s and they want to try to recapture those because maybe they had children early.
Right.
And so I just love the way you navigated all of that. And the bottom line is that you were brought on the show to make a decision. So you got to
Right.
Gotta
decide
Yeah.
decide.
something.
Yeah. Right. And so, okay. So now, although I was there for my son,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Those three ladies represented my three daughters.
Mm,
So I couldn't help but to just embrace them, right?
Okay.
And so I said, well, it was a challenge because, I they didn't want us to steer away from the purpose of the show,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I had to stay within context. I couldn't bring like my own personal experience to the show. I couldn't like, because these ladies was like, well, Miss Katina, what would you do?
Right.
And how would
Right.
you? And I'm like, oh no, don't ask me that question. Like, hey,
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's something.
Yeah.
because we were mic'd all day until we went to bed,
Okay.
or unless we were about to shower, and so those young ladies, they liked me, and I couldn't help but to just not just only be there for Chad, although I know he's looking
Right.
for
Right.
a potential mate, but I didn't want to just shut them ladies out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
So
So
you were
for
looking
me,
for the best interest of both sides.
for both
And
sides.
that may not have been what they wanted you to do. That wasn't the instructions, but you couldn't waver in, hey, but I got to protect them because if I see my son isn't
Yeah.
ready, I don't want that. Is that what I
So it was a
understand?
challenge.
Okay.
I'll just say that it was
Yeah.
a challenge
Y'all need to go
because
watch.
yeah, you gotta go
Yeah, you
watch
got to
the
watch
show.
it. You got to watch it.
It's airing tonight at 9 p.m. on OWN Network. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so it was a challenge for me because of who I am. It's like what's in me always got to come out, right? So I had to learn how to really curve that and say, okay, after the show, after everything, then we'll make, we'll develop relationships because every opportunity is a great opportunity to bring someone to Christ or show the love of Christ, right? And
Right.
so that's who I am. And, and they knew that, because we
Right.
were able to talk about it, but I couldn't go into a full blown
Ministry mode.
ministry
Yeah.
mode, prayer, all of that because they wanted it though.
Right.
That's the thing, they wanted it. And,
Yeah.
so we still talk today.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. You go
So
next.
how did you feel about the criticism? Because listen, when you go public,
Whew.
hold on, let's just talk about this. So the thing about
I wasn't ready.
so listen, so the thing about
Ready.
um reality TV, because we
Yeah.
got invited to go on a show in Atlanta a couple of a month or so ago,
Yeah.
and they wanted to hear our story, and so it was divorce court. I can just say it. But it was like something set right, and when we were telling them our journey and our story, they wanted more sizzle. It's like,
Yeah.
well, we don't have them kind of problems,
Right.
Right.
and we're not gonna make that up.
No.
Like, no, we're not gonna make it up. And so
Right.
we decided they were listen, booking flights, paid event, and I'm like, yo, this could be really good just from a branding standpoint, but it didn't sit well with our core
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we decided not to. But we understood there would be some criticism that could come from that. So for
Oh my
you
gosh. Yes.
being on the show, having to make decisions, having to send young ladies home,
Oh,
um, and it's all on you.
yeah, it was
So,
all on
so
me.
Yeah.
how'd you
I
deal
didn't.
with, how'd you feel about some of the disagreements that you heard online from people?
You know, we have a professional therapist who we had to talk to prior to going on the show and
Okay.
then after going on the show, right?
Okay.
After they aired the show, the doctor called and said, hey, just want to see where you at mentally, because, hey, these
Hmm.
people are going to come. And I just didn't believe it. You don't know until you like really, until you're really in it, you don't know the magnitude of how mean these people could really be. And so I was like, okay, I laughed it off because I just felt like this is a great opportunity for me and my son, right?
Yeah.
I really care about nothing else.
Hmm.
But honey, when them comments got the rolling, and I said,
Jesus.
ooh, I said, gee,
Yeah.
oh.
Throws you into prayer, don't it?
Yeah, it does. And so because these people, but here's the thing, you open yourself up for that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You open yourself up for that. And so you have to be ready and prepared for that too,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And so I wasn't quite ready, but I'm better now. So like
Right.
from the first episode, like I think they featured us like the third or I think the third or fourth episode. I wasn't ready on the fourth like that the first time they aired me, right? Us.
Right.
Um out and then 7 I was better. I think you know
Took
what I'm
about
saying.
3 episodes
It took
to get.
about 3 episodes for me to not because I was started responding like, hey, hey, you know what I mean,
Right, right, right. And it's
right?
a natural
Yeah.
response whenever you have
Being
not,
attacked.
yes, when you've not been in, because that's another level. When you're
Oh
on
yeah.
TV and you have all of these millions of people seeing you, it's another level because people behind the camera, whatever device you have, they're opinionated.
Well, and then you're only getting clips
That's it.
of what I said.
Right.
You're not getting the full because it was more than just this 2 minute clip that you saw. It was 20 minutes of a whole conversation, and you may have heard, oh, well, I know she didn't say that. Well, yeah, but not like that. You know
Right.
what I mean? So
Context matters.
yeah. And so, but now, like I said, I'm okay with it.
Right.
I did comment, but then I went back and deleted them, and said, you know what, these people don't know me. I can't let
Yeah.
them,
Right.
I can't
Right.
sweat and trying to prove something to someone that don't know me. I can't do it.
And most of the time, you can say whatever you want to say, but you have millions of people, and it's just you, and people have to believe what they want to believe,
Right.
and that's just what it is,
That's just what it
you
is.
know. So, did you have another
No,
question
no, go
about
ahead.
that? Okay, so um, first of all, before we go to this question, the first person that you basically voted off, I know people had a problem with that.
Yes.
Are you able to explain a little bit of why you made that decision?
Well, the reason I did, not that she was a beautiful young lady, but so it was the drinking I said, right? I was like,
Right.
oh, and then it was when we were all at the table, right? So if you go back and you watch, she was sitting right at the head. So I was at the head, she was sitting right here. And so when one of the other ladies would say something, she was saying something slick.
Okay.
Like, like she was throwing shade. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh no, 2 weeks, I can't have that in here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't have her in this house. I didn't want no drama.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I just felt like she was gonna bring, you know what I'm saying?
What's that show? Baddies or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just all the drama. They just
Yeah.
fight
All the
all the
time.
time. So you picked up. You're hearing this
Mm-hmm.
on the side,
Which
right?
people don't
Which people
actually
don't
know
know all of that.
what's going
Right.
on.
And
Got
your
it.
Right.
job, your assignment,
Right.
was to discern who's the best one for
Who's
my
the best
son.
one?
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
Now, y'all gotta go watch.
Y'all gotta keep
Y'all gotta
watching.
keep watching. But your son gave you a little pushback on that because he wanted to know what Shorty was about.
Yeah.
He didn't get a
Yeah, he
chance.
didn't get a chance
He
to
didn't get a
see.
chance to see what was up.
In my book, he didn't need it. He didn't need to see. I'm sorry.
Because
Look,
mama knows
Mama
best.
has
hey,
said.
Mama
That's
knows best.
That's what you said.
Man, I was driving the net. I was driving that when every chance I get, Mama knows best.
You did.
I know, hey, hey, hey.
You
I
were
know
saying
what's
it.
best.
Yeah.
So yeah, drove him crazy. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
I was doing it in love. Like, boy, I
Yeah.
got your best. See, I'm a mama, right? So I know I'm gonna have your best interest at hand. And as a woman, we see things that a man ain't gonna see,
Right.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
So not that I don't want to control your life, but I promise you, with God on my side, boy, I know what's best for you. I'm telling you, that wasn't it. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I love her though. I mean, love her as a person.
Right,
Right.
right, 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 right. You're talking about a fit, just so that we're clear,
Yes.
and so the viewers are clear. You weren't attacking her. You wasn't saying she wasn't a good
No.
person. What you were there for was an assignment, find the best fit for your son.
Yes, absolutely.
And you had, I mean, unfortunately, on this is what we have to do.
Somebody
We have
had to
to
go.
eliminate
Somebody had-
people.
yeah.
We got to eliminate people. And since you were a part of the team,
Exactly. Mhm.
you had to eliminate her. Now, some would say, well, oh, well, you were saying because you were Christian, she was drinking and that and the other. Now, I don't hear you saying that. I hear you. What I heard you say was, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't that. You didn't go all
Yes.
off into it, but you're like, hey, that could be a problem.
That could be a
So you were looking for red flags from people,
Yes.
and the ones that would mostly probably um, take your son off of his course and destiny. Is that what I'm
right,
hearing you
exactly.
say?
Well, because we have very limited time.
That's where I was gonna go.
Very limited time. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right, right, right.
what you may see, what the viewers may see as an extended time, like maybe a week, we're talking 30 minutes. A decision has to be made right now.
Right now.
So with the decision and the choices that I have to make a decision quick.
Right.
I didn't have time to be like, sit down and talk to her and say, hey, well, what do you really like to do with your life? And da da da. No, I didn't have that kind of time. It's I see, right? I'm discerning, I'm hearing, I'm seeing, I'm here, I'm listening with my ears, I'm seeing with my eyes,
And discerning with
and
your spirit.
discerning in my spirit.
Yeah.
Now the viewers may not like that. I'm sorry.
Right.
But I had to go with what was in
Because it's my son.
this my son.
Not your son. This is my son.
This my son.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's
So
just be
this my
clear.
son, and it was based off a mom's decision.
Right.
But how many times we don't do that? See, God gave me a job. He gave me, he gave me, he gave me that responsibility to care for, to love, to make sure, to nurture, and to make sure that I'm raising my children up in the right way, right? So that he can make the right decisions, so that he can pick the best suited mate. Because the Bible says, he that findeth the wife, he findeth a good thing. Okay. Now, how is he going to do that? Because even in the biblical days, you had to get, she had to be approved. You know what I'm saying? So he had to go. So it had to happen.
Yeah.
Somebody had to go, and so
Somebody. Okay.
And
So
look, and so here's the thing too, right? Because I was gonna go there.
Yeah.
It's a very limited time,
very limited time.
and I'm just gonna plug this because that's the whole purpose and vision of our Love and Truth podcast is that I love you enough to give you this truth.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
Exactly.
Because I love you,
Because right.
I got to give you this truth. And based upon this limited information, the truth is, I don't think this is the best one for you. And we don't have time to try to unpack whatever's going on with her.
Exactly.
And this
Hate
is,
me now, love me later, because you be like, thank you, mom.
yeah.
Right.
And what would you say to even just in general? Forget about the show for a second here. We've heard this all our lives. First impressions are lasting impressions.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So how you show up the first time, people are making judgments and decisions based upon what you show them
Yeah.
the first time.
Absolutely.
So what would you say to young ladies about how they show up the first time they're meeting someone, the first time they're meeting family? What would you say?
Listen, you got to be presentable.
Yeah.
You present yourself a young lady, a wholesome young lady. You don't want to come with, your butt out, your breast out, because first impressions, like you said, leave those lasting, impressions on
Right.
someone. So you want to come, and be well mannered, have respect. Because if you don't have respect for yourself, a man ain't. The way you present yourself to a man says a lot about you. So if you coming that way, right? I see you over there like, tell it. No, but if you don't present yourself in a respectful way, don't expect these men to respect you like that, because they not.
Period.
Period.
All day. It would never change.
It's
And
not.
We
you
are
can't.
here.
You cannot reinvent the wheel. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And I know that we have a group of young women out here, and they are being raised by social media.
Oh,
And
yeah.
what happens is you take a woman that's fragmented and she did not get attention. And so then she goes and typically what it looks like, she'll go get a breast done, her butt done, her get it all tight in the middle where she's looking like she wants to look. But the problem with that is we see you and you looking good, but your heart is still messed up and you're still fragmented.
Right.
So your outer appearance is just your outer appearance. What's in there?
What's in
Because
there?
that's what we're looking at really.
Right.
Because you can be all of that, and you can get the attention, and that's fine, and you can get the likes. But I guarantee you one thing: it will not build your spirit man up. It will not get you to where you want to be to get that man that you really want.
Exactly.
That won't happen because men are
Right.
looking, because we're talking about wholesome women. Men are looking, I see women, I can see bad jobs and I see good jobs. But what is your heart like?
Exactly.
So
Can
that's
I
all.
can I add something to that?
Yes,
Because you
you
said you won't
can.
get the man that you want.
Right.
Um, I would even say even deeper than that. You won't get the man you really need.
That part.
Now that
Exactly.
one that okay,
That right.
that's
Because you
said.
might get
Right.
Come on,
because
husband.
sometimes what they want is the one that's six figures, 6 foot, well, all the sixes,
Yeah, all the
all
sixes.
the sixes, right? That's what you want, but he might be 5'11" and a half,
You better come on now.
Yeah,
I said not
and and
and he
making and making
make
99,000
or
a year
50
with
or
no debt.
50,000, baby, with no
right.
debt.
Yeah,
Right.
I know women like now 50 is a little stretch,
Right.
but let's say go 75, 80,
You see
50.
how
I'm just
social media done mess people up. You see how social media mess
I'm
people.
just no, no, no.
I understand.
I'm just saying.
I
Hey.
understand, but
No,
I'm
he,
just
he
saying.
could be a really good man at 50 with a lot of potential. But what I'm saying is that sometimes we focus on what we want based upon what society has said is what you should have
And that is not
versus
the
Correct.
standard.
what you need. And that is
Correct.
somebody to build with, somebody you can grow with, somebody that you can, you're spiritually, emotionally,
Right.
mentally, and then y'all can build financially.
Correct.
Like see, the financial is what you can build that together. But
Right.
that emotional and mental and spiritual, you got to get that together within you first. And
Yes.
then you're going to attract that like spirit.
Exactly. I agree.
The money is just y'all can go get money
Build
together.
together.
Right.
Right.
So that's all I'm just gonna say.
So
Needs versus wants.
I just have a question. Are you able to tell us who you chose, or do we have to wait?
Y'all gotta,
Cause I'm just
I
I
need y'all to watch it. I
okay.
need y'all to go
All right. I
on
tried.
tonight and y'all need to watch
I
and really
tried.
see how this thing really unfolded.
So here's the thing though. When this actually airs, y'all need to go catch up.
Yeah, go
If
catch
you
up.
haven't watched, you need to go from one all the way to what
Yeah,
12,
just go ahead
12.
and
11,
They
binge
get to
watch.
1 to
binge.
11 binge
Just
watch,
binge watch.
so you can see who Mama chose.
Yes.
Okay, so well, I have another
Yeah,
question
go
though.
ahead.
Okay.
What's one thing from this experience that taught you about yourself as a mother and as a woman?
Ooh, I can't tell you who because I don't know if you guys watched it, but it was one particular lady on the show, one of the young ladies, right? What she said to me, and it touched every part, every fiber in my bone, right? She said, she said, I choose me.
Mm,
I thought, wow, wow, that said a lot to me, right? Because she was drawn to me. And so we would talk and just in conversations about relationship because she wanted to know, well, Miss Katina, what would you do? And what's type, you know what I mean? And so we had that adult conversation and she said, I just choose me.
yeah, that's
And
powerful.
so for me, that has stuck with me and it has changed my view and my perspective on things, because see, it doesn't matter how old you are. You still, as long as you have a
Correct.
teachable spirit,
Yes.
right? And so that was a teachable moment for me to say, even in my big age, I have to learn how to choose me. And so in every area of my life, even as a mother,
Yes.
I have to choose me because you can choose your children and you can make your children a god. You can idolize your children. But what about the mother?
You're speaking.
Right?
Oh, yes,
So I
she
had to
is.
learn that thing right there. It ministered to me. It taught me just with those little words. I choose me to love me, to step into my purpose, to step into my destiny. I choose me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. So, what did you witness in your son? Because I heard you say earlier that he was the middle son, not the middle child per se, but the middle son. I'm a middle child, and I know we move a little different.
Oh yeah, yeah, I do.
So, what did you witness in your son that made you the proudest to see this whole process?
He was honest.
That's a big deal.
He was honest. And almost, I can't say it to a default, but I like that he stood up in his truth. I
When you say
like that.
honest, I want to clarify. I want to ground
Okay.
honest. with the ladies, honest with you, honest with himself. Just break down that.
Honest with what he was feeling,
Yeah.
honest with what he wanted, honest with the ladies, and he stood up. A lot of people, you kind of saw that pushback.
Yeah.
For me, it was I still embrace that
Yeah.
because he was being a man to say, well, I love you, mom, but I disagree.
Yeah.
You know, even with the two parent home thing. See, what y'all didn't understand is that I know he would have preferred for me and his father to been married and to raise, his siblings, right?
Right.
Together. So I feel like it's important, not that it disqualifies a young lady or a man,
Mhm.
but you get the foundation. How were they raised?
Mhm.
Because you want to know.
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, Fathers typically could pour into their daughters so that they won't go out looking for love in all the wrong places and all the wrong faces, right? A mother gives a certain kind of nurturing to her son
Mhm.
that then he won't just go out here and be looking for any type of woman, right?
Right.
So I think it's just important for for you to have that kind of information. Not that it disqualifies it
Right.
doesn't disqualify a person
Mhm.
because you could be raised from a two-parent home and still not be a
Right.
great
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
You could be raised in a single parent home and
Mhm.
not be. So it just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So what I hear
But
what I
go
hear
ahead. Go
you
ahead.
saying is that because my husband, we actually had this a couple of episodes ago where he asked me a question: is it better for a child to grow up with a father
No, an
that
absent.
that is
Go. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no. Say what you
No,
just so we can get it
no,
so I can
I
get it
didn't mean to
right.
cut you off.
It's okay.
What's more detrimental, an absentee father or a broken mother?
Yeah,
Like, which is more detrimental
to the
to the child's
child.
growth and development?
Yeah.
The father not being there, or the mother that's still not healed and still broken in places? Um, and so that was just a question, a conversation that we were having.
I
Mhm.
think both. Because if the father is absent, right, who will the son kind of look up to? Who will How will he know certain things?
Right.
How to use the toilet, for instance, because
Mhm.
a mother can't show her
Mhm.
son how to do that, right?
Mm. Mm.
So, but then when the mom is still broken,
Mhm.
so it's just we're living in a time right now. I feel like a lot of people, because we've all experienced some type of trauma in our life growing up, right? And
Mhm.
so now is the best time to get the healing, do the work on the inside, you
Mhm.
know, repent, ask for forgiveness,
Mhm. Mhm.
heal
Mhm.
from all the issues that you had when you were growing up, because nobody's perfect. There is not a book written on this to say do steps 1 2 3. This is what you need to do for my, as a mom. This is what you need to do as a father. We grew up in brokenness,
Yeah.
we grew up in
Hmm.
trauma. Not everybody,
But
but
a lot
even
of us.
but a lot of us
Yeah,
have. In the black community, we've dealt with the trauma.
particularly.
Yes.
So then it's, we teach our black men, you better not cry, you better not do this. And so now the men ain't they're our sons, they don't have the emotion. If you go back and watch the show, you can hear my son say he lacked empathy. So that for me was like, oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed it because I didn't teach him, or because I was in this protective mode that I didn't nurture enough. I didn't nurture in love and say it's okay to cry. It's okay to
Mm.
it's okay to hurt. It's okay to, you know what I mean? Instead of saying, boy, hush, suck it up. Don't you cry. Boys don't cry. You understand? You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I think it could be detrimental both way. If the father is absent,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and if the mom is still broken. That's why it's so important for us to get the therapy and the healing that we need.
So this is the last question, and this is our closing question, and I do appreciate everything you've said. But before I ask this question, can you please tell us where we can find you on social media?
So I am on Facebook at Katina Canceller. I'm on Instagram, Katina D Canceller, and I don't have my Twitter account. But I am. Those are the two platforms that they
Okay.
can find
Okay.
me.
Okay. And if they want to, this piece that I have on, and unfortunately, y'all won't be able to get the same one I have.
Not at all.
However, where can they find you in order to get something custom made like this?
They can reach out to me on Facebook, Katina Cancellor. They can send me a message
Okay.
on Messenger. And I'm still in the process of working on website and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay.
So to get that, to get my website up, that they could, contact me that way
Okay.
via, but they can contact me on Facebook. That's the easiest way is
Okay.
to go on Facebook, send me a friend request, and I upcycle old denim jeans to make blue jean jackets.
Hmm.
And the hat, just taking a hat and putting some denim on there.
Yes, and making you look good.
Babe, before you ask
Yes.
your
Yes.
Yes.
last
Yes. Yes.
question, I
Yes.
want to say this because Katina said a lot around just how you grew up in single, two-parent household. One of the things that we really touch on in our journal is around, we talked about trauma or significant events, but it's also family dynamics. Because what you
Mm-hmm.
said was, if you don't have that information, you won't really know how to navigate through that. And so our journal is a prompting journal. It
Yeah.
prompts you to ask certain questions as you're getting to know someone, or in your marriage if you're finding
Hmm.
yourself stuck and you're trying to figure out why do we
Mm,
keep going down the
right.
same road.
Or if you're
Right.
single.
Or if you're single, yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
jump there too. If you're single and you want to get an understanding of where you are, it's a really good tool for singles, marrieds, couples to use to help just start the conversation. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that in.
Yeah. Well, that was good. So this is the last
That is
question.
good.
What would you say to other mothers struggling to release control as their children grow up?
This is where you have to, one, trust God, trust the process,
Mm.
and really, yeah, we got to do a part two. I just feel like this is so much. And this is really good though. This is
Yeah.
good. This is good information. So you have to, for me, let me just talk about me, right? What I had to do as a mom. Just recently, about maybe a month ago.
Mm.
So I had to have a conversation in prayer with God. And so God had to show me. I have been operating out of in the spirit of fear this whole time. And God is saying, he's teaching me how to release my children
Mm-hmm.
back to him
Mm-hmm.
because I've prayed for them, right? So if I've prayed for them, then I have to trust God with them.
Yes.
So he's saying, release them back to me.
Yeah.
You move back out the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's what I would say to a mother that's struggling, that wants to have a whole grip. Because I've had to let it go and
Yeah.
say, okay, God, you've blessed me with my children. You've kept me this far. So, okay, I can't operate, be like, oh, come here, stay over here. Oh, no, you can't go. I don't want you to go over there. That's not a good friend. That's not, I have to let them go on their own journey, but I have to trust God that He's going to keep them and protect them along the way.
Mm.
It's good.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
No, I mean, yeah,
Well,
I've enjoyed this conversation.
I have to, and we do need a part two because there's some more stuff that we probably need to unpack that would help women that I know. But we thank you for your
Yes.
transparency, your strength. We
Hmm.
thank you for the love that I hear that you have thrust into your children. And so definitely we got to have part two.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
However, this has been a very impactful episode for me, and I've learned a lot, and I hope you guys have too. Don't forget to go to our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, share, and as always, don't forget to walk in love. Don't forget to seek out the truth so that you can be set free.
Yeah.
Until next time, peace.